Well, almost there, guys. Almost there. Nice to see some happy, smiling faces. I thought I'd change the subject of my session this afternoon because I know more about ink than anybody in this room. Anybody want to challenge that? No? Okay, well, I'll talk about what I was originally going to talk about then. So, no tech here at all. I started life in the technology industry many, many years ago, but I've moved on. So what I do is I assess sales, marketing, business development, go-to-market plans, and I help organizations, many of them you would know, bring their sales teams up to date. That's what I do. I have a couple of partners around the world, but it's very close to what you do in one way, but a long way from it in another. So, to me, this industry is still locked. We have hardly scratched the surface. I'll take you back to almost the beginning of these 2 days and Sean Smythe's presentation. I don't know if you remember, but he put up a slide that had more company names on in this industry than I have ever seen before. The first thought that came to mind was, that's a lot of companies. I expect to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions anytime soon, because it's a huge volume. So we've only just started. So how are we going to unlock the potential of digital in packaging? Well, we're not going to do it the way we're doing it today, because it'll take another 20 to 30 years. That's what it took in commercial print. And there are a lot of similarities. So let me give you a bit of an idea as to where you have to start. First thing is the change will need to be, should be, is beginning to be enormous. I don't know if any of you have ever come across this baby. Who moved my cheese? It's almost 40 years on. I use it in some of the courses that I build and deliver, and there is one word in here, and that is change. Probably more than when it was originally written. At any time in our lives, the requirement, the speed of change is enormous. And it's a difficult concept for most people. Most people either are very happy if they want to buy a new iPhone, but they're not very happy when they're told they have to change. And we try and help people not get happy with change, but embrace it. Get used to it, love it, enjoy it. That is the plan. So for me, what really triggered change? November 2022, went to meet my niece in London for a coffee, I thought. She told me she was pregnant. First child to be born in our family for over 30 years, because I think she was 33 at the time. So that made me think, you've been in the printing industry most of your life, you know tech, you know selling, you know marketing, you've worked for EFI in the States, ran huge sales teams. Maybe you should use your influence to help others, and maybe spread it, grow it a bit. So this is what really triggered the change. I have a Swedish business partner who about 6 months beforehand had sent me Greta Thunberg's book called The Climate Book. It's 450 pages. not a quick read. Took me about 3 months to get through it. It's 150 sections, each by an expert. And towards the end, as you join the dots, it gets a little scary. But you probably know what triggers change in you. It's different in everybody. Without exception, every single one of us needs to do this. Probably almost constantly, because of the world we live in. This gentleman is a Swedish Australian. He is a futurist, Anders Sorman Nielsen. And at the end of last year, he stood up in front of a huge audience in Sydney, and the words that came out of his mouth made the audience gasp. These were the words. As they settled down a little bit, relaxed a little bit, he hit them with this. If I can get it. Maybe, maybe not. We got there. So, life is never going to be this predictable again. I don't know if any of you have seen the PDF that FuturePrint put together, but the graphic on the front of it, on the vision of 2024, is a sailboat in a very difficult sea. And it's almost like we're here, although today the sea is not so difficult. But this is his and many other people's predictions. We are in a tough world. We need to do things a little differently. So, one of my favorite tennis players. So this is personal. And most of the sessions we give, which are under the name of Spinnaker, as the front sail on a sailboat, aimed at accelerating you through wind, you have to start with probably thinking of changing yourself, upskilling, reskilling, wherever you are, whatever you do. The other one is, and we gave this session last week to EFI Fiery team across the world. They're kind of on the right track. They've been selling Fireys for about 30 years, but they're not moving anywhere near fast enough. And they're getting caught by their competition. They're very skilled, or they were, but up until 2019, they'd probably been operating the same way, selling the same way. So we were trying to give them some options, some ideas, some suggestions as to how they should change their selling skills. Upgrade them if you like. I don't know if you've seen this one. It's, like many other things, stolen from LinkedIn. I just get you to focus, if you can, for a second or two on this one here. It's not the biggest number, but it's kind of, for a salesperson selling anything, the most scary. People don't come to look at products without doing a lot of research today. So we don't need anywhere near as many salespeople. We need a lot more researchers. We need marketing people. Maybe we need school kids to do the research because they spend their life on a phone and they know how to do it. But you get a massive increase of how much time and how far through the buying process, because this is what we have changed, all of us. We buy everything differently. So there's a gentleman who owns an inkjet company in Holland, Peter, and during COVID, he sold his $1 million plus presses online. So when I'm told by EFI, HP, Domino, etc., we need highly skilled salespeople, I kind of question that today. You need a different mix. The mix is changing fast. So I put one question up here, which hopefully will arrive sometime soon. Should you sell differently? Actually, I'm going to change this. You should sell differently. Because if you don't, you will get left behind. One of the challenges we gave to the fiery sales force, all very experienced, technically pretty competent, know their stuff, was by the end of the year, we're going to have a competition to see who of all the sales development managers can make the best video of themselves, a mix of technology, a mix of product, and a mix of personal. Because corporate, and fiery do it, corporate posts on LinkedIn are worth, they get no hits. Personal stuff, business stuff, technology stuff, wrapped together as an individual, get the hits, get noticed. And you want to get noticed early, because that's what the buyers like us and all our customers actually look at. So we should all be thinking about how we sell differently, not whether we should, but how we do it. And it's different. The cultures across the world, in Europe, people do it in very, very different ways. I don't know who needs more patience, you or me. So, about mindset. A few years ago, Xerox asked us to train a specific group of salespeople. They were called iGen Tigers. There were about 100 in Europe, and they sold a product called the iGen, which at that point in time was one of the more expensive digital toner-based presses. The Xerox model in selling was the more people you touch, the better. Our model was exactly the opposite. I said, you need 3 questions to find out whether you should spend time with this prospect. 3 questions, that's all you need. Because I need to find out the mindset of the potential buyer. If they're only thinking of buying one, and it's going to be difficult as to whether they have the volume, whether it's the right kind of customer, be very polite, time to go, very nice to meet you, and move on until you find somebody who has the mindset to grow and maybe think about buying 2 or 3. Because otherwise you waste a lot of time in the selling process. Selling inkjet presses is very similar, except maybe a little bit more difficult. Selling them to packaging, and you're multiplying that difficulty. Because you then have to deal with a converter and a brand. Most of the brands don't want to know anything about tech. They have concerns about consumers and how they buy, what they buy, where they buy. Each country does different things. Each demographic does different things. They worry about EU regulation, which they worry less about than consumers. But again, it's a mindset sale. So that's where you start. Not my figure, been used hundreds of times in many different ways. We have only just started. And we really need to accelerate this, if at all possible, very, very quickly. So let's think about, from a sales perspective, a marketing perspective, a go-to-market plan. I would like my sales team, my marketing people, my business development people, not to just talk product. Most of the brands I talk to are either confused or so bored with the technology that they just switch off. It is not why they live. So you have to change the subject, not remove the technology, but you have to wrap it in a different way. Different type of selling. To me, this is what we do. We spend our lives re-engineering how people sell. I'm not going to stand up in front of a sales group and tell them, I'm going to teach you how to sell, because I do not like being hit by tomatoes and eggs. It's probably the most insulting thing you can do to a good sales team. Tell them, we're going to have sales training. We're going to re-engineer how you sell is maybe the way to go at it. So it is a mindset. Most people start at selling. They talk a little bit about marketing, they talk a bit about business development, and they talk a little bit about strategy. Unfortunately, the way to really do it is completely the reverse, which I hope we'll get there. So we start with, you know where you are, you know where you want to get to, you define that sales journey in a lot of detail, but please start with the strategy. If you're selling to a brand or a converter or combined, which often happens, it's a very different journey. Completely different from the way people do it today. I see lots of product plans. I see very few people plans. I was fortunate in my career, the people that I worked for not only did a very good job of running the tech teams, the support teams, the sales teams, they grew people. And you need leaders to grow people. So invest in your sales team. Do not all of a sudden, as I see a lot of companies coming to Drupal, the product looks great, they've done all the prep, they've got the alpha version, the beta version, but the sales guys are still selling like they did in 2019. They're expecting lots of leads at Drupal. I don't expect many leads at Drupal. The ball game has changed. Whether there will be another Drupal past this one has a very big question mark, Andre, because we buy things differently. I had a couple of senior sales VPs say to me, we're expecting lots of leads. And I said, do you know what year it is? That just about happened in 2012, 2016. It is not going to happen this time around. And if you get many prospects that are new, then I have to ask the question, what do you know about your market? So it's going to be a different world. Really, really make it easy for people. Get them through small steps. Don't push it too fast. So this is where we are. Most brands, most converters are unconvinced they should buy digital. They just, they have different motivations, different feelings, different approaches, and they're just not there yet. And to some extent, not totally, it's because, let me go back one. Oh, definitely go that one. Oh, I'm going the wrong way now, am I? I am going the wrong way. Let me see if, yeah, no. So, let me finish before I've upset the screen completely. Mario Andretti, Italian-American Formula One driver, has the expression, he's actually famous for quite a few, if you think you're going fast enough, you haven't really started. So you have to think, or if everything seems under control, and as humans we love to feel we are in control, we're not going fast enough. This industry is not going fast enough. I'm going to give you a challenge. I'm going to say, think about the most impossible collaboration with another company and go talk to them. Because the scary thing that I saw from Sean was too many companies doing very similar things. The best example I have in our industry today is there are way too many label presses that do almost the same. Most of them don't sell really volumes, but there are close to 100 different label presses. So I would ask you guys in the technology business to think about who you can really work with to accelerate sustainable growth in inkjet technology for packaging, for brands. That's my message. Just finish with this one. Unfortunately, most of this audience is male, and one of the things that we are not good at is asking for help. And we think we can do it all. Big boys do not cry. They do not ask for help. It is something we all should think about, getting help, accelerating the growth of our products, what we deliver, how we deliver. So the Spinnaker, AI generated, and what we do. We chose the name Spinnaker because we went to Bob's, and Bob's told us they know about digital. And within about 5 minutes, I realized Bob's were very good at Flexo, very good at automation, but digital was not really in their ballpark. And they did not have a plan B, which really surprised me, knowing the company as I do. So we put together a course which is kind of a plan B to get people to think about how they re-engineer selling, how they use the social skills, how they blend that. Because it is very easy to not bore, but maybe lose your potential clients by talking too much tech. I know we love it, but some of them are not too keen. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chris.